Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
And today we're joined by our very awesome guest, Megan. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. You know, Preakness was yesterday. It's still gray and crappy out. But
yeah.
I think
but the Orioles
that's part
are
of the
winning.
name, right? Of the Preakness winner.
Is it?
Yeah.
We're gonna go off on all sorts of tangents. We're gonna be all over the place.
It was Seize the Gray.
Seize the Gray.
Won the Preakness. And
Okay.
it's gray outside.
I
So
know.
seize the day in the gray.
I'm just glad it's not raining. It's it's starting to feel like Seattle.
Oh, I know.
Well, we get more rain than Seattle, so
Do we?
I think so.
Okay.
We get like a shit ton of rain. We're in like a subtropical zone now without like the weather changes.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't believe you. Okay.
Look it up after.
Where are you from?
I'm from Baltimore.
Mhm.
I live in Windsor Mill, which
Okay.
is in between Randallstown and Woodlawn, because nobody really knows what Windsor Mill, they never hear of it, so it's just easier to say in between Woodlawn and Randallstown.
Yeah.
So.
And when were you first introduced to recovery?
Well, I was first introduced into recovery when I got arrested.
That'll do it.
Yeah, a little over, it's been over 10 and a half years ago, and my lawyer told me, hey, you need to go here. And, it wasn't like, that's the first time that I was introduced to, like, IOP and go to meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, like, 20 years ago, I had to do some, like, 12-step, or not meetings or anything, but I had to do like 12 classes of like recovery or alcohol or drug or like education classes.
Yeah.
And then
Court ordered, probably.
Yeah. And then group counseling for women or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was it. But they were so
Cool. And how long have you been clean?
11 or 10 and a half years. I'll have 11 years in October.
Nice. Yeah. So I just have one more year than you because I'm coming up on 12 in November.
Yeah, October 20th. But my recovery started in September. Well, I got arrested in September, and it took me another month to finally like become like clean of everything. Because when I first came in, of course, the doctor or my counselor or whatever, he was like, you need to go to like 2 or 3 meetings a week, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I go, and of course the first thing is alcohol is a drug, and I'm like, well, alcohol's not my problem. It was weed.
Yep.
And then
Oh no, Lou, you're caught up in my cords. Get out of here.
And
I got a dog wrapped up in my cords.
And it finally took like a month for me to stop drinking and doing other Adderall and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, with all that out of the way, we're going to turn it over to you to share your story with us. So start from the beginning. Take it away.
all right. So I guess you could say a lot of people say I was a late bloomer with using. I started after I graduated from high school, weed, and then drinking here and there. Weed was my drug of choice. It's the one that hit, or I would do it from the time I got up to the time I went to bed, and sometimes I even woke up in the middle of the night to take a hit off a bowl.
Yeah.
And then so from there, my life became very unmanageable. I did do other drugs, and I noticed behaviors there, but my go-to drug was always weed. And when I didn't have it, I would be chasing alcohol. Coke and Adderall.
What made you start smoking weed?
Well, I did it once in high school, and I was so paranoid, right? And I'm like, I'm never going to do this again. And then once I graduated high school, I didn't go straight off to college. I went and started working, and a bunch of these people were like, hey, started talking about smoking weed. And so I'm like, hey, I've done it before and this and that. And so that was my start. And I started going went over there with my cousin. We got high, and I just loved it. Found it, and I was always started like looking for more and more. And so, and that's how I got started with it. Was actually when I worked for a grocery store out in Howard County, and I just did it because I wanted to fit in with people and wanted to be. And then it like started off, triggered something, you know. And then so yeah, and then after a couple years in, I got arrested the first time, and that's when I had to do the education class and this and it was like right before my 21st birthday too. And I had to go and do like, you know, piss tests and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna drink. And of course my counselor's like, well, you can't drink, you're supposed to be clean. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna like miss out on my 21st birthday. So, but
what was your drink of choice?
Cranberry vodkas or Smirnoff Ice, like the cranberry.
Okay. Yeah.
Or the Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yes.
The cranberry version.
Okay.
So, and then if it wasn't, a bunch of my friends, we used to do the raspberry Smirnoff vodka.
Okay.
Funny story is one time we were, you know, I'm so grateful that, I mean, I used to drive around.
Oh, yeah. Drinking and driving was, it was no big deal.
I, you know, in the whole course of my using time, I did not get arrested or pulled over for drinking and driving. Yeah. The one time I did get pulled over for speeding, the cop asked me where I was coming from. I was like, I'm going home, or coming from my stepbrother's surprise party. I only had, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he let me go, and when he gave me the ticket, I had an empty bottle in the backseat of my car and weed in my car. He gave me a ticket and a one of those questionnaires on how well the pullover of him pulling me over was.
Oh, so you probably got like a rookie.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm like, well, I want to thank you for not, you know, arresting me for weed and giving me a DUI. And
you said that to him?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I was like,
oh my God.
No.
You didn't get yourself caught.
No, I was going to send that in the mail. I was going to send a little questionnaire in the mail, but then I was like, yeah, the heck with that.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
So, you know, I got through that, and as soon as I got out of that, I hit back up, started doing.
Of course.
And then a couple years later, I was in Ocean City, got pulled over again.
Trap City.
Yep. It was actually it was in Delaware. I was coming from Bethany Beach to, and he smelled the weed. Like literally I reeked of it.
Oh,
like, like you could get high from just standing outside of my car, like 5 feet away.
Oh yeah.
And so he smelled it and he searched my car and all that. And at that time, you know, he handed me my purse, which is unusual because I've already been arrested once before in the past. Yeah. And the last time they took my phone, my purse.
Oh, yeah.
And the dude didn't take my purse or anything. And I had like two little bags, one with a big stash in it and another one with a little stash in it. He only found the little stash in.
Oh, nice.
And handed me back my purse, and I could smell the weed. And I'm like, shit. You know, and then of course my two aunts came. I called them. I'm like, help! I'm getting arrested. So they came down and I handed them my purse and my phone, and they're like, your bags like reeked of weed. And I'm like, no shit.
Yeah, no shit.
Here's the ounce of weed that he didn't find.
Yeah, take it and go put it in your car. Go away. Yeah, get this away quick.
Yeah, and so I ended up getting off. I had to go impound my car out. There's been a couple of times
they impounded your car for that.
Yeah,
what dicks.
Yep. So I had to.
So unnecessary.
Yep. And then so that one I got off of that because the cop just like released me, and I still went to court and all that stuff, but he never showed up, and so I got off with nothing. He like. I forget, what is it, a null process or something like that.
And Latin, yeah.
And then it came to, so anywhere from the bits and pieces of being arrested and all that stuff, I still used. And it got to the point to where I was trying to find that high.
Yeah.
And my life became miserable. Let's see here. I was angry. I was yelling. I had I could have came off as maybe bipolar, but I'm not bipolar. But I was chasing that high, and I would do other drugs to chase that high. But then it's like I didn't want to spend the money on an 8-ball of Coke.
Yeah.
I'd rather just spend all that money on a bag of weed. And so the last time came of getting arrested when I hit my bottom was where nobody wanted to be around me because I was always smelling like weed and they didn't want to smell like weed. And I was just miserable, and all I wanted to do was get high.
Yeah.
And I came home. I was on my way home from the bar. I had just had 2 drinks, and my biggest thing was smoking and driving.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't realize that I hit a bowl in front of a cop, but I did it anyway on my way, and that's when he pulled me over.
Yeah.
And I had my scale, my bowl, and like 3 or 4 bags of weed. It was almost an ounce of weed on me. So
You weren't selling though, right?
no, I was not selling all that.
See, cops, because I was selling, but they didn't understand that like people would have scales on them. Like a scale was automatically like, oh, you're dealing. And it's like, no, I just want to make sure I don't get screwed.
Yes, exactly. Because here I was screwing other people with,
of course,
but I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting screwed.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was like, well, I got 2 different kinds of weed here, and I didn't want to mix them up in different bags. And it was like an ounce of weed, and so pretty much, I got got me for intent to distribute.
Oh, yep,
and,
of course, yep.
And then they went through my phone, and they were going all through it, and they saw text messages, and I'm like, they kept on asking me questions. I'm like, I'm not answering now.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yep. Because one of the things it's not a good thing to learn, but one of the things I learned was the no list. Like when they start asking you questions, you just say no. No.
Yep.
So
the way I learned it was ADD. It was like admit nothing, deny everything, and demand proof. And I was like, okay, all right, that's pretty smart.
Yep. And so at that time, I thought I was just going to go, because I got arrested in Baltimore County, like right down the street from where I live. So every day till this day, I drive past that spot where I got arrested from. It was one of my neighbors that I knew who lived there. Their dad came out, sat in a lawn chair, and watched me get arrested, get a little feisty with the cop, So long story short, they took me to the Woodlawn precinct, and then they took me to Catonsville, and then Towson. Finally got out, and they're
Why'd they take you to so many different precincts?
Well, I guess Woodlawn's it's not like a big jail.
So it's just like a processing center?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the commissioner was at Catonsville.
Okay.
Down there by Wilkins Avenue.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, you're not getting bailed out here. They took me to Towson. I was there for I don't know, 12 hours.
Okay.
And so it stunk. I lost like a couple. I always tell people the only good thing about going to jail or Towson was the food stunk, and I lost like 5 pounds.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the only good thing. That's the only.
That's the only good thing about jail.
Yes. So, and there was my process. I had to, and at this time I was going to UMBC, working. And I got a lawyer, and the whole time my dad was there. He's always came and bailed me out. My dad was the person that, bailed me out the first time, helped me get the lawyer the second time, helped me with everything. And at this point, he was like, I'm going to help you with the lawyer and and bail you out and all that, but you're going to pay me back every cent. And the one thing is that I work for my father. So he did payroll. So
so he made sure to get his money back.
Yes.
Nice.
He made sure to get his money back from bailing my car out, from bailing me out, from the lawyer. I had to pay for IOP because my health insurance wouldn't pay for it. He didn't pay for it. So, and I went there, and the guy's like, do you want help? And I just broke down, and it's like, yes, I want help. And then I broke down again. I'm like, because he was like, you have to go to IOP 4 days a week. You have to do two meetings a week. And then on top of that, I was going to school part-time and working. I'm like, what the hell? I was
how
like,
the hell are you going to do all that?
Yeah, how the hell am I going to do all this? So I did it. I made time. I mean, grateful that I worked for my father that was lenient to let me leave early. But it's, I made it happen. And then, I don't know, it's weird. In the first beginning, I wanted help, but then again, it's like I didn't want help. I wanted to go back. I'm just doing this so I can.
I wanted to stop getting arrested.
Yeah, I wanted, and it's like, I just want to stop, just I'll stop, do it what I need to do for court, get it off my record, and all that stuff. And I would just say, well, I'll wait. And like that first month when I was doing IOP, I was still, towards the end, I was drinking and I was taking Adderall that wasn't prescribed to me, which is weird because, here I smoked weed all day and then I would take Adderall, which is like, what the hell?
Yeah, counteracting each other.
Yeah. So October 7th was the first day that I started IOP, and I didn't stop drinking to it was like the 18th, or it was like at midnight between the October 18th or 19th, and that's how October 20th came. So, but I had a counselor tell me, I told her, I'm like, yeah, I've still been drinking. She's like, Megan, all you need is just like, look, you already have a felony charge on your record right now. And like, all you need is a DUI added onto it, and it's just going to make things worse.
Oh, yeah.
And that really hit me at home. So I stopped, and I'm like, well, I'll just wait till after court. And then court gave me 18 months supervised probation.
Nice.
18 months. I had to finish doing IOP, still had to do like 3 meetings a week. And I did that, and I was like, all right, well, I just kept on giving myself ultimatums. Like, I'm not going to use, I'll wait until after probation. And then that came, and I'm like, well, I'll wait until I hit 5 years.
Yep,
and
just holding on to a reservation.
Yep, and then finally just, it kind of like slowly crept around and said, I just don't want to use it anymore. I like having all that extra money in my pocket.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I have more friends now. I've gotten so much from just being clean.
Yeah.
I've gotten a car, been on travel, more friends, a house, and I gained I'm like co-owner of my dad's business.
Nice.
Like a little bit, there's 4 of us.
Yeah.
So, my life it's good now. I enjoy it. And to be honest with you, I don't want to go out and use, every once in a while it sounds good to have a drink or whatever, but I'm like, I'm too tired to go out and get a drink.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have the time. My life's so busy now with working and going to meetings, and I do CrossFit now. So
nice. Oh yeah, you joined that cult.
Yeah, I joined that. Yeah, I joined that cult with the rest of everybody.
Yep, everybody up in Northwest area.
Yep, and it's funny because once I stopped using, and I start, my old using friends, they used to be like, I would always be the pain in the ass because I would always like constantly call them, hey, let's go out and drink, and I would even be that addict that would buy them, or like, I'll go buy the Coke, I'll buy the drinks or whatever, just because I wanted that friendship. And then I stopped using, and I start leaving those people alone, and then every once in a while I would run into them, and I would see them like, you don't call us no more, we miss you, I want to hang out.
Yeah, you miss my cocaine.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I'm like, you miss me buying you drinks or taking your ass home so you wouldn't have to drive.
Yeah.
or having the weed, or I'm like, oh, well, the phone works both ways.
Yeah.
And then in the past 11 or 10 and a half years, out of like that whole group is not even really together anymore. The couple of them have died from using overdose. Some of them moved away and have their own lives.
Yeah.
Some of them are, have kids of their own, but they're still alcoholics or drinking or whatever, addicts.
Yeah.
And yeah, so pretty much everybody went their own separate ways.
Yeah.
Which it's the best thing. It's like once, I get clean, everybody's like, oh, we miss you. And
Oh, yeah.
so I don't miss them. I don't, I got a good core group of people here. So, and, and like when I came around, I was like so stubborn, I was like, I had this one lady, she's like, I want you to call me. And I'm like, well, I don't want to call. I want to text you. Why can't I text you? She's like, I want to hear your voice. And I tell that people now, it's like, I want to hear your voice. Anybody can text you.
Yeah.
That lady, she passed away clean a couple years ago. But it's funny about when mentioned earlier about dealing. I told her, I was like, yeah, I would just go pick up weed for my cousin and enough weed. It's just like going to the liquor store and buying picking up somebody a case of beer and while I'm there picking myself. She's like, Megan, you were a dealer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and we argued for a good 25 minutes in Boston Market about how I wasn't a dealer and how she was telling me I was. And then I finally just was like, okay, I get your point now.
Yeah.
I just wasn't the dealer that was standing on the street corner down in Baltimore City. Yeah. I was just that, I guess you
were just a delivery driver.
Yes.
You were Uber Weed.
Yeah, Uber Weed. And what?
That's a pretty awesome title, Eric. Yeah. Uber Weed.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if that came out now.
Oh, yeah, especially nowadays. Hell yeah.
I mean, I work for my dad, or a car body shop, and now Uber delivers car parts.
Oh, yeah. They deliver everything.
Yeah. They deliver everything. Yeah.
Groceries,
car parts. Yeah. One of my coworkers, he because I work in a security field, and they went to a supply shop and picked him up a part and delivered it to his job site. Yeah. So they'll deliver anything.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if weed's next on the list. And it just, and I get pissed off every once in a while. I'm like, damn, of course, now they make it fucking convenient, legal.
That's actually one of my questions.
Yeah, now I get arrested in trouble for, intent to distribute when I wasn't really distributing. All that shit was mine. Yeah. And now it's all legal and there's stores popping up and, Oh, yeah. And all those other new technologies of smoking weeds come out, and
oh, I know. Once we got clean, people they were like, "Oh, have you tried dabs and shatter and all this?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
There's so much more. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Dab is where you have to take
It's a whole science project.
You have to take a torch.
You have to take it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I'm like. And I was like, it fucking figures that, they make it legal. But bottom line is that I wish I could be a normal person every once in a while and just smoke weed. But then again...
Then you would just be legally miserable.
Yeah, legally miserable. And I'm like, what's normal anyway? Yeah. I'd rather be weird and be...
Happy.
And, I like my... life. Like I said, I've been doing CrossFit for a couple years, and I got my 2 cats.
Nice.
And Jim and Buddy, and I go home to them, and they're I tell people, they're like my best friends.
Yeah. Yeah, fur babies are a real thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I go all around to different areas for different meetings because sometimes you just get tired of being in one area. Yeah. And where I live at, it's so I got West Side here, I got Baltimore, Northwest, Bay Area, Neffa, like all within a 20 to 30-minute drive from my house. So I go there.
Yeah, I've seen you everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always everywhere.
Yeah, I'm everywhere, and people are like, well, you know everybody. Well, yeah, because I don't stick in one place. And, and then it's just like you see a lot of people, and then you guys probably relate in the past, like, 10 years, you see people come and go. And
that's the nature of it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, you don't want to sound like a butthead, but it's just like, you get tired of seeing people celebrate 1 year and then going back out and using. And I'm like, I was telling somebody last night, I'm like, I'm not going to your their first.
Yeah.
I'll go to your second.
Yeah.
Or better yet, I'll wait till you get hit 3 years.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you get tired of,
leading a horse to water and not drinking.
Yeah. Or they drink and then they just stop.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I'm better now. And
Yep.
Yeah. You're not better.
No.
So, and pretty much like.
You're hitting some notes for David, I think, right now.
What?
Just with your recent.
I've changed a lot.
Yeah. But with your recent, like, with your sponsee going back out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's probably a lot of the same things that you hear.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like, I'm okay. I got this.
Well, we definitely have some questions for you.
Okay.
So let's get to that.
Okay.
You want to go? What do you got, Eric?
Sure. I'll go first. So I guess my first question is the late bloomer thing. Because I think, like, I wasn't a late bloomer, even though I consider 15 old for starting using.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to some people. I'm
yeah,
like, man,
I was
so
weed at age
fucking
11.
old, like, taking oxys at 15. Like, man, I'm a late bloomer. But I know that's not true. I was 15 fucking years old. Does that fuck with you at all? Being, like, not having any experience in high school and, like, not, like, going... Like, not hitting a field party, not, doing burn runs with your friends and, like, during, first period or whatever. Like, does that kind of mess with you a little bit that you missed out?
No, because, when I started really using, I was, like, 18, 19 years old. So we still had field parties.
Yeah, you still had it. Yeah,
we still had it in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. And where I live at, one of my neighbors...
Did you guys go to Daniels in Howard County and, like, party there or something?
Well, we did there, but where I live at, I live next door to family, so we had a field party. We had fields, like, right there. We would have a field party there next to my cousin's house or whatever. And then our neighbor, which used to be my cousin's boyfriend, like, you can't see his house from the driveway. His driveway is, like, over a mile long. It's like when you're driving, like, you have... His driveway's next a couple driveways down from my house, and it's like at least a mile and a half, and it's like going down the Blair Witch Project, at night. Yeah. So you go back there, and you're going over this,
over the river and through the woods, yeah.
And you go back there, and we would have bonfires, drive like broken down vehicles, have all kinds of stuff, and like. People would never know that we would have these big ass field parties back there. So, and then everybody would they would come out and you would find people passed out here, people
passed out there.
Yeah. And one time, my cousin's boyfriend, he remembered going to bed and having a fence post all down his driveway, and he woke up the next morning and his girlfriend and one of his best friends had took the wooden poles and threw them in the into the fire because they ran out of firewood.
That's such a dick move.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, but he was like, oh, okay, whatever. But this is the kind where you see burning, like, hay bales, like, rolling down the hill and trying to stop it, or...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, some crazy stuff.
That's horrendously dangerous.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that your garage?
It's the garage. Yeah.
Oh, God, that was really loud. I was like, what the hell is that?
It's like, what?
And also, it was fun times. And then on Sundays, we would go back and get drunk and high again, but also cook, have a cookout, and play volleyball. And then,
Yeah. That's,
Yeah, so we had the field parties. But I had them in my late 20s, or pretty much mid-20s, all the way to I got clean.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I got it. I want to go back to because literally what I wrote is resentment against weed laws, because I think that's very common against people our age, because we were all getting arrested for weed, and
guilty.
And I don't like to make a hierarchy of drugs, but you don't really compare weed to heroin.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're kind of two different things. It's still an addiction. It can still be a problem, make your life unmanageable, absolutely. But I know, at least for me, I'm just I kind of think it changes kids' perspective of it.
Well, it's going to be like alcohol now.
Yeah, I don't think they have the respect, because weed is a drug. It absolutely is a drug.
I mean, it is. It resent me because I had to go through all this just to get, I got in trouble. I had to spend all this money to get it, and at least a couple $1,000.
Oh yeah.
And then on top of that, I didn't it took me 3 months to pee clean.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it sticks in your system.
So,
oh yeah.
And a lot of kids are like, oh, it only stays in your system for 30 days. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit.
Because, if you're smoking it as much as I was, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And depending on how big you are, all this stuff sticks in your
in your fat cells. Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'm I had to do all this to get clean, which I'm grateful for, because I don't think I would have gotten clean. If I didn't get arrested. Thank you to the Baltimore County cops.
Yeah. And that's my point. How many of these kids are gonna just continue to be just super high and miserable just because they'll never really have those consequences.
Yep. And it's just and a lot of people...
I disagree with that statement.
What?
Of the consequence, jail is a bad consequence for this,
dude.
Though.
Yes,
that's not that consequence. That we should be talking about.
Yes,
here.
if we jail, death is not in the equation in the jails, institutions of death when you're just smoking weed.
But should jail be even in a consideration? I don't think jail should even be
to a degree,
consideration, right? Well, if you get a DUI, sure, public intoxication. That's fine,
if you're smoking and driving, that's a DUI.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I don't think that just because someone smokes weed, they should go to jail.
Yeah.
Really quick.
I got it.
You got it? Okay. He's going to close the door. Because we got a kid. We got a baby coming in.
And also, another thing is, it's just, nowadays, fentanyl, they could put, when I used to smoke weed, there's times where I would, put coke in that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but that's the good thing about it being legal, is that
if you're getting it through a dispensary, you are getting clean weed.
You're not getting fentanyl.
Yes.
Because that's my worry with the whole drug war, is that people are buying cocaine, but there's fentanyl in it. Mm-hmm. They didn't ask for that. That's not their intent. Their intent was never to do fentanyl. Their intent was to do cocaine, but then they die because they had fentanyl in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just not fair. Yeah. It's that's not what you asked for.
No. And I think the decriminalization is a good thing.
Yeah.
But there are, little things like that where these, teenagers aren't going to have the respect for it.
Unless they're arrested for,
Mm-hmm.
They need to get scared,
Yeah, they should.
David was scared straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
No, I know.
After my 9th arrest.
You were truly scared straight, though. Your story is the most scared straight story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I have a cousin who's now the excuse is that, he won't go alcohol's a drug. He's an addict.
Mm-hmm.
He won't go get help because his excuse is I have to pay bills. I get bills to pay. And for longest while, it's he doesn't have health insurance, but he couldn't afford health insurance. I'm well, the reason is you can't afford it because you're spending all your money on that.
Yep.
And I'm well, you go get help. And
Narcotics Anonymous is free.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You don't need health insurance to show up at an NA meeting.
Nope. And my mom got clean or sober after I've had a couple years clean or so.
Nice.
Because I had enough of her. She broke into my house and drunk because she had a fit because I wasn't answering her phone calls. And so she was texting me all this, and then she came to my house and started, and She broke into my house. I walked in. I'm like, you got, and she saw how hurt I was, and she ended up going. She didn't go to treatment. She started going to the other fellowship, and she'll be coming up on like 4 years in August.
Nice. Congratulations, Mom.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And she even tried to get my cousin to go with her, and he's like, no, they're weird. I'm like, well, no more weirder than you going out and wasting all your money on drugs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, Eric, what you got?
All right, so I'm actually you're a little bit older than us, right? So, and you mentioned the drinking and driving thing, and one thing I've noticed that's really interesting is I used to like play in a lot of like different like leagues for tennis and stuff like that, and I would always remember the people who were older than me would just drink in the car when we like go to matches. They'd be like, all right, here's the 12-pack, boys. Like, let's polish it off before we hit the match. And it's like, we're driving to York, Pennsylvania or whatever. And it's like, you guys are drinking and driving. Like, you're setting a terrible example for me, like, who's like 18 or whatever. And they're all drinking in the car. Do you think there's like a generational gap with drinking and driving? Because our generation...
I did it. I
didn't really do it.
It was a good time, man.
Also one of my uncles or one of my aunts died from a drunk driver hitting them, so I guess that was ingrained in me.
Yeah.
But also like Uber and Lyft came out like a little bit after we started drinking. So I feel like it's a little bit of a different vibe because like I feel like if you were born like before a certain age, it was totally acceptable to drink and drive.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a different gap?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Like, you weren't as condemned? Because I feel like people, like, now would condemn you. Like, if, like, someone was, like, too drunk to drive, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Catch an Uber.
Yeah, they
catch a Lyft. Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
But before, it'd be like, oh, yeah, here.
Yeah,
I can drive, Tom, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of times where my friends would try to hide my keys. And then I'm like, no, I want to...
Then it just gets into a whole angry match.
Yeah, and... Like, there's one time where I drove all the way home, forgot my phone, drove all the way back, and I was driving like an asshole. I should have been, like, pulled over.
Oh, yeah. I should have had so many DUIs.
There's a couple times where my friend and I were coming home, or exactly when the Ravens won the last Super Bowl.
Yep.
When we were down, they were playing Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We started pre-gaming at a friend's house, and then we went down to... power plant down there, drank and all that stuff. And we don't even remember how the fuck we got home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's scary.
And, I might have hit, like, a dog or something. I don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
And, which, like, people... Like,
driving in a blackout is insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a friend drive my car home, and then I would drop him off, and then we would drop him off and I would drive home and I would like memorize. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go this way. So I would like ingrain it in my head. Like, okay,
there's no speed traps on these roads. Yep. And
that's every time. And there's even one times where we thought we were getting pulled over on a back road because there's all these back roads back in like Woodlawn and Granite.
It's like Woodstock and Daniels and like all that Western Howard County stuff.
Yeah, and so like all those back roads, we would just go and get. That's why.
Oh yeah.
And people are like, "How do you know?" And it's like, well, this is where I got high.
Yeah. Yep.
This is where we drank. And like one time we thought a cop was pulling us over, and we dropped a bottle off. And this is how of a big addict and alcoholic we are. We didn't hear the bottle break, so we turned around and went and got the bottle. Yeah, and we didn't get pulled over. The cop was just coming around.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh shit, dropped the bottle and it didn't break.
Yeah.
So.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. I believe, I think I remember seeing this on Facebook. You quit cigarettes, right?
Yes.
So I'm now coming up on 4 months.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm coming up on 6 years.
I smoked for 20 years and, I smoked for the first 11 years of recovery. How difficult is it to quit cigarettes? And, what was your path with that?
So I started smoking when I was 16 and I stopped when I was
What was it? What brand of cigarettes did you smoke?
Marlboro Lights.
Marlboro Lights. Okay.
Yeah.
The whole time?
The whole time.
Okay.
I think one of my first packs was Marlboro Menthols, but I didn't get it. Marlboro Red Lights. And every once in a while, I would switch between the Marlboro Mediums or the Camel Lights. Mm-hmm. But it's always been Marlboro Lights. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be coming up on almost 2 years in June. Not smoking. Mm-hmm. I had just came back from Aruba, so I stopped when I turned 42 years ago. Mm-hmm. And and I don't know, I was just having, I don't know, the breathing, and it's also harder to do CrossFit when you smoke.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And,
that's true.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I was just having some, like, health issues. I was just feeling weird. Mm-hmm. You know, like, my vision was going weird, like, and, would freak me out. Like, I would see all these, like, aurora headaches and, you know, and then all of a sudden I would feel, like, pain in my chest.
Oh, yeah, just that tightness.
Mm-hmm. So, on June 21st, we'll say June 21st, because June 20th, I just had my last cigarette. I had another pack. I'm like, and I had one cigarette left and open. I'm like, I'm going to smoke this, and then I'll just do a day. Mm-hmm. And I kept just saying, I'm going to see how it is. Mm-hmm. If I can make it to 1 o'clock tomorrow, 1 o'clock. So I made it to the next day slowly, and then I ended up I had a pack of like nicotine patches. Mm-hmm. And so I've been doing that. Mm-hmm. And they say, you know, you do 14 weeks or whatever, this or that.
And then step down.
Yeah. So I just started doing it, and I kept on like, all right, well, I'm just going to go through the next day. Mm-hmm. So I just kept on using that one day at a time. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll have a cigarette. Mm-hmm. And the cigarette thing also, well, the price in them going up, and
that helped. That actually helped me quit a lot.
Yeah, and so I had to do a first step on quitting smoking. My sponsor had me do this, and then here, my life was so unmanageable with smoking, especially with them going up. I would drive to Harper's Ferry.
How much were you smoking a day?
Harper's Ferry.
Yeah, about a pack and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
was a pack a day smoker, at least.
Yeah, and then I would drive every 2 weeks or so, or 2 or 3 weeks. I would drive up to Harper's Ferry once the price went up and buy 3 or
cross the border into Virginia or West Virginia.
Yeah, like on your way going up to almost heaven.
Yep.
And so I would buy 2 or 3 cartons. It'll be about it, and then gas went up, and I'm like, well, fuck that, you know.
Yeah, now I'm not even saving money.
Yeah, I'm not even saving money because I'm damn if I do and damn if I don't. It evens out. And then, like I said, the health, I just started feeling pains in my chest. And for a minute there, I thought that it was like, oh, maybe it's just from me lifting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let me just give it a try.
Remnants of COVID.
Yeah. And, the funny thing is that the one time I drove all the way up to Harper's Ferry on Christmas Day, thinking, I think I might I was exposed to COVID, and here I left my family thing because they were all freaking out, COVID.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, whatever, I'm just leaving. And I go up and, exposed a couple other people to cigarettes, Mm-hmm. And so that's, and then I just keep doing it. Half the time I don't think about it. And every once in a while, I'll still put on one of the low dose of cigarette patches for the 7 milligram for the nicotine thing. But there's sometimes where I go days without a nicotine patch. But nice. I couldn't even do the vape thing because
I'd never liked. I tried vaping when I first got clean because it was huge in West Side at the time. I was like, what the fuck is everybody doing? And I tried it for 30, maybe 60 days. And I was like, this sucks.
I don't remember you doing that at all.
It was literally like a month or two.
It had to literally be a second, because I think I vaped for I vaped for like a year. And then when I moved, I vaped and smoked, and I was like, well, this is stupid. And then I just quit cold turkey.
Yeah, I even smoked with the cigarette patches on, too. Oh,
there were numerous times where I was like, oh, I'm trying to quit. And I would like literally, I'd butt out a cigarette and put in a piece of Nicorette. Yeah. And people were like, weren't you just smoking? And it's like, yeah, but I'm trying to quit.
I'm trying to quit.
So, like in in July of 2020, so it was early COVID, I had ended up, getting sick. I ended up having, I was taking an antibiotic for, an infection I had from like an abscess. And for some reason, I ended up catching or getting viral meningitis.
Oh my god!
And also have an allergic reaction to Bactrim. So it caused me to have seizures.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So, and of course it's in the early COVID year.
Yeah.
And of course people wanted to swab my nose like 20 times.
And that's when they were getting super like tickling your brain with that thing.
Yeah, and like the first couple days. I went Northwest. I was fine, whatever. They let me out. And then I had another, episode of it. And at this time, they didn't really know what was going on with me. And then I go back and they find out that I had viral meningitis. I had to do, and then they had to give me medicine.
That can kill you. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know how the heck I got viral meningitis.
Yeah, I know bacterial meningitis is worse, but still, viral it's serious. That's crazy.
So I was in and out of like 3 different hospitals. Carroll County sucks. It went there.
I don't even know what hospital's in Carroll County.
Well, there's a hospital.
Westminster, I
guess? Yeah. And so I went there, and this is, of course I'm freaking out. Haven't had a cigarette in like 5 days. I just want a cigarette. I just want to sit up. Of course, they're putting the patches on me. And of course, I'm a fall risk, because of the seizures. And they kept coming in and yelling at me for sitting up. And they finally had to like strap myself down like 4 times because I kept restraining myself.
That's crazy.
And I remember like the first time getting home, I had a cigarette patch on and I was smoking with it because I just wanted, and the whole time I was in the hospital, I wasn't smoking. And there's times where I wish I just didn't smoke.
Yeah.
When I came back out. But, this is how our addict behaviors are. I wasn't ready.
Yeah. People don't realize how crazy, like, your thinking is just with cigarettes.
Yeah. And here I am, like, I finally ended up at Sinai. That's a really great hospital with neurology. And one of the reasons also is that I now, ever since having, I'm not epilepsy. I don't have that.
Yeah, you're not epileptic yet.
But like everything now, it's like I have to be more aware because I don't, even with like cigarettes, or vapes, I was afraid that they were going to make me have seizures. And, and at the time I didn't even know I was having a seizure. I thought it was just me recovering from a migraine. And it was just like they could like family that was around me or talking to me while I was could tell that I wasn't right. And so now it's just, even though that happened like almost 4 years ago, I'm more aware of how I feel, medication. I can't have anything that has like the sulfur in it because of how it makes, I'm afraid it's going to cause me to have a seizure. And in the state of Maryland, they, if you have seizures, you can't drive for 3 months.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And on my 7th anniversary of celebrating, I had to ask my sponsor at the time to give me a ride to my home group so I could celebrate.
Yeah.
And when I came into the rooms, I didn't have to ask people for rides. I had the vehicle, and so whatever you experience in the beginning and you didn't have to experience it in the beginning, hold tight because you're going to experience it sooner or later.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We all get a turn.
Yep. So with the vapes, it's just, I didn't like how it made my head feel, and then I would hit it like I was hitting a bowl.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. It's like, oh, you want some of this Fruity Pebbles?
Yeah.
So dumb.
And then it would be like cough and like I just hit a bong or something.
Cloud gang.
Yep.
Cloud gang life.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, no, nicotine's really hard. And like the biggest thing that's like different for me is I hate the smell.
Yeah.
Dude, that like, because even when I would try and quit in the past, like, I would just smell it on other people and be like, oh man, I really want a cigarette. But this time, like, I smell people and I'm like, that's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And the fact that I realized that like I smelled like that for years and like I didn't know it. Like, I mean, I would come into Eric's house all the time and were nose blind to it. So I didn't realize how bad I stunk, and I'm sure I did. I stunk like an ashtray.
That's how I smelled. Or that's how it came with weed and smoking. I didn't realize how bad I smelled.
Yeah.
And, you know, every once in a while, it's when they first light up the cigarette that I'm like, oh, that smells good. Every once in a while.
Smelling it in the air is different than smelling it on somebody.
Yeah.
Like when you smell it on somebody, they smell like a stale ashtray, and it's just like, ew.
Yeah, or color or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was weird because when I smoked, I would not smoke in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I would go stand out half in, half out, kind of thing. But I just can't really stand the smoke or being in a cloud of it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's getting better. My dad always used to try to get me to stop smoking. He's like, "I'll pay you $1,000 if you smoke. If you quit smoking for a year, then I'll pay you another $1,000 for smoke or not smoking for another whole year."
Yeah.
And then now, every once in a while, I'll go and tell him.
Where's my money?
And I think he's like, "Well, that deal was like years ago." Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's bullshit." All right, Eric, what you got?
I guess like how many times were you arrested? Out of curiosity.
3.
And how do you feel that affected like you getting to recovery? I guess.
I actually want to like piggyback on that away because did you kind of get like slaps on the wrist the first couple times?
The first time I didn't really get slapped on the wrist because I was on probation and I still had to go. I was slapped a little bit, I guess, but I still had to like go check in like once a week.
Yeah.
And
I just mean like when I got arrested, like it was just such minor consequences. Like I was just like, okay, whatever, I did that. And then I would just, it wasn't enough for me to stop.
Yeah. So like the first time I was in an accident and it wasn't my fault. And, so of course they arrested me in front of my dad. And I think that was a hell of a punishment right there, getting, you know, the look on my dad's face. I'm like, yeah, I'll just go to jail. Please take me. Yeah. You know? But I don't think they gave me much trouble or it wasn't harsh. Back then, I looked at it's being harsh. Back then, I was like 20 years old. And then, like, the second time, I think it was pretty much slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Because the dude just didn't want to deal with it.
But
and I was out of town. I was
and
for some reason, each time that I've gotten arrested, I started crying.
That's fair.
Yeah, and the second time, like all of a sudden, I just like started like feeling nauseous and this and that, and I think he felt bad for me.
Yeah,
and so, and yeah, I don't know. And then I was really hit with the everything, the third one, and I'm like, well, you know, it just, and it's funny because you know when you have that aha moment, it's like, well, I guess I really need to stop smoking now.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I didn't didn't go back and like relapse or just like stop, but I don't know. It's just, I remember where they say if you don't remember your last day using, you're ready to. And I remember that day. I remember leaving work, going to the bar that's not there anymore, coming home. I just don't remember hitting the bull in front of the cop. I remember hitting the bull.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember that whole process. And I'm like, and my main thing is that I don't want to go back there because I guess money's important, you know.
Oh yeah. Yep. Like, you quit drinking and drugging, you get an instant pay raise.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know, I rather spend my money on shoes, which is my new addiction now, is shoes.
Ooh, nice.
Shoes.
How many pairs of shoes you got?
I got like almost 30 pairs of shoes.
That's
Oh
a
my
lot of
God,
shoes.
that's
Well,
a
it
lot.
depends. I got like five of them were CrossFit shoes, other regular tennis shoes, and then I got some work tennis shoes, and so I mean, I had like 40 pairs, but I did donate like 10.
That's good.
Yeah, and then I have dress shoes, but it's like my sponsor told me I had to give a couple weeks break on buying shoes.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like my addiction manifests in like the shoes and the phone, because I tell you, me and my phone is it's like a love relationship right there.
Yeah.
So that's where my addiction is manifesting now.
Oh yeah.
And
The phone is a bad one.
yeah, so back to like, I guess unless something seriously happens to me, or I don't know, because nothing really seriously happened with me with cigarettes, and I just stopped.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's just like with weed, I needed somebody to
Yeah.
help
Kick
me.
your ass.
Yeah, kick my ass. And it falls back to like nowadays people, like I see with the weed being legal and alcohol, people think it's legal.
Yeah.
It's legal.
And it's socially acceptable. Yep.
No, and like my cousin, he's not gonna stop drinking until, it's sad to say, he just lost his license, so he's Ubering and asking rides for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm like, your life's not unmanageable. This isn't unmanageable.
Yeah, exactly. But yet you're worried you need to work because you need to pay your bills, but yet you're wasting all your money on Uber, Lyft.
Yep.
Well, you don't have to pay. I don't have to pay car insurance. Okay, well, to be honest with you, Uber and Lyft are way more expensive.
Yeah, it's got to be more expensive. That's not an equal
They pay-
trade-off.
Yeah. So
I did look at that when I was getting a new car. I was like, can I just Uber and Lyft my way?
Is it financially responsible to Uber and Lyft? No, you need a car.
I have a kid. So
You have a
that made
kid,
it
you need a
hard,
car.
But I think if I didn't have a kid, I could do it. I really
Is that
do.
is that like a thing for Uber?
What?
Like, hey, do you have a car seat?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never Ubered.
I used it.
I've never Ubered. I've never used Lyft.
I used it when we were on vacation.
Okay.
So you can choose car seats and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I used Uber when I was traveling a little bit. When
Yeah.
I was out traveling.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've just never had to. Interesting. All right. Last question. Have you worked all 12 steps?
Yes.
What's your favorite step and why?
I guess I don't really have a
You
favorite.
gotta pick
Gotta
one.
pick.
Okay.
You
Gotta
have
pick
to pick one.
All right. I like, even though I like step one.
Yeah.
It's simple.
There's no wrong answer.
No, there's no right. I'm on step one again. I've been on it again, and this go around. I'm writing on it, on not being an asshole to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, being a recovering asshole is a real thing. I've been saying that for years.
So my thing is that at work, I worked step one on so many things. Like I said, with the addiction to drugs, obsession over people, because I used to be like obsessively calling my one sponsor for like 24/7, and to the point to where she was like, dude, you either need to chill the fuck out or I can't sponsor you no more.
Yeah.
I did it on smoking, and now I had about a year ago, people I work with would just get underneath my skin, and I would react to them, and it would turn into a big argument, blowout argument, and with me coming back and apologizing for stuff that I knew that I wasn't wrong, and I hate apologizing for when I know I'm right.
Yeah.
And so it's been a good year so far without argument at work. but I'm working on not allowing those people that act immature, that aren't acting a program, get underneath my skin to where I react to them.
Yeah.
So pretty much I'm working the first step again on not being an asshole, pretty much.
Yeah.
To people.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. You got any more questions,
That was
Eric?
it for me.
All right. Well, we're about out of time, so we would like to thank our guest Meghan for joining us today.
Woo! Yay!
We're going to give you one last quick minute talking to anybody out there who's struggling, needs to hear a message of hope. What do you have to say directly to them?
You only have to do this one time. You know, you don't have to go back out and use, no matter what you're going through. People have gone through everything. You just have to be willing to open your mouth. And when you go back out and using, it's not hurting just your family, it's hurting your network, it's hurting your sponsor. Just stick and stay. Stop, you know, and once in a while people, you know, keep going out and relapsing. People get tired of it, and then it makes them not want to go out and spend their time helping.
Yeah.
You know, help, you know, it's just like they're over with it, you know. It's not saying they don't love you, but they're just tired of wasting their time on somebody that doesn't want to stick and stay when they can spend time on somebody that really wants to stick and stay.
Yeah. All right. Well, you did a great job. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you.
And yeah, everybody out there, make sure to like, share, subscribe all our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, all those good things. Thanks for joining us once again. Go to our merch, go to our Patreon, help us keep these mics on because we are self-supporting. But most importantly, everybody out there,
Stay safe and stay clean.